This is Solside Up. I'm your host, Sol. Welcome to an hour of beautiful conversation. Open your heart and enjoy.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, Michael. How are you doing? Hi.
It's great to be with you in Norway, even by
Zoom?
This way, by Zoom.
Yeah, well, isn't that the gift of technology? We can actually connect in this way. So I'm extremely happy that you took the time to come here and sit with me and have a little chat about the
anything Norwegian. I love. I can't wait to get there again.
Well, we can't wait to have all the borders opened and life be normal again. But it's taking a little bit longer than we assumed. I think I was mistaken. I thought this would be over a long time ago. It must be my Jupiterian optimism that kicked in and made me, assume such a thing. So how is life in New York?
How is life in New York?
Yeah, is it getting back to normal?
We read about all the violence here on the subway and killing and stabbing. I have never seen anything in New York City like that. There's nothing that I've ever seen. I go to work every day. I go to my office every day. I went to my office every day during the pandemic on a bus, even though I did everything online through Zoom. I wanted to get out of my house, so I would go to the office. There were homeless people, and there were a lot of people asking for food or money, but I never saw any violence. And now it's much more busy now, and it's what's sad about New York is there's so many places closed, so many wonderful places, restaurants and shops and stores that could not make it. That's what very painful to me to see. But it is coming back slowly, and whether that stays, we don't know. But I'm still here. I left New York in the very beginning. I went to the Jersey Shore and stayed with my friends at their beach house. But I came back to New York. I'm a New Yorker. My job was to help the people here and to help the local economy, which I did. I supported the local economy, and so I'm here. But it's not as violent as you see on the news. I don't know. Every time you turn on the news, it's another violent not political, but just violent uprising. But I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. But that's a thing that I learned more than anything else through this whole COVID thing is that the news media world, they're not helping. They're not helping. They're not. They're not helping.
Even the weather. The weather people never just say it's going to rain. They say violent rain coming by tomorrow evening, flooding possible. Make sure you have a bag to evacuate your city from. It's never anything but to terrify us even more.
Yeah.
So with the weather.
Even with the weather, I mean, come on, give us a break now, will you? I'm personally, I feel blessed because, I haven't been watching much television for the last 20 years. I just kept away from it.
I don't see it. I don't watch TV. I haven't in years.
No. But the thing is, I'm observing with the people in my life, especially the elderly ones, is that they're getting really stressed out by the news. It's really tearing down the immune system. It's really stressing them out. So where do you see this in the astrological kind of picture for the time being, all these things that are happening for the time right now?
I think that because all of these planets are now being discovered, it creates chaos within the consciousness of the people. Adjustments that they make, it's not like they discovered a new moon. It isn't like that. It's so many planets already being discovered, and outer planets whose energies you don't understand or grasp. There's one planet that's 500 years. Another planet they think is 6,000 years. So our consciousness and society is exploding, and because it's exploding, it's very hard to deal with. And that's one of the reasons why people are turning to what we're doing, because we don't have any answers to planets that are brand new, but we are seeing now ways that we can cope with the uncertainty of everything, because we don't know. We hope that it's going to go in a positive direction. We pray that it is. Our job is to make sure that people are going toward what's best for them. And so I think that that's what's causing it. And the older people are having a very big trouble to grasp it, because society, when outer planets are discovered, society collapses.
Yeah,
No question about it.
no question about it.
Collapse. Even when the telephone was invented,
Yeah.
that was a horrible thing to happen. That you at the dinner table, your family's at the dinner table, and a bell would ring.
Yeah.
And that bell, somebody on the outside talking to your daughter or your son.
Yeah.
That was crazy for people to contemplate. And we have so much going on at once, going on to our heads, that it makes it very difficult for us to metabolize all of the changes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's the reason. If there's a reason for why it's upsetting, it's because not everything is happening so quickly.
Yeah. It's like time just spun off into some weird hysterical tempo. It's like,
I think I read somewhere that some astronomers had said that the Earth was going around the sun a little slightly faster.
Yeah, I think I read that too, actually. Like, and that made so much sense. I'm like, of course it does. Can't you see? We're all right.
It does make sense, because it seems that, wait a minute, didn't we just have Christmas? That's how it feels.
Yeah, I know.
It's summer now. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Wasn't it just winter yesterday? So we have a lot of things going on. Plus, there is probably some weather making. There's probably engineering is going on. Weather makers are.
Oh, really? Like,
I think so.
You think so?
I think a lot. Yeah, I think a lot of it is artificially engineered, and I think that people have gotten to believe that there are no boundaries, that we can do whatever we want to nature.
So it's kind of like a Promethean hubris that is happening now. And like, because I've been thinking a lot about that Promethean myth, like that kind of like stealing the fire from the gods and giving it to humans who have no control over themselves.
I think that came with 1945. I think when we finally reached a point where we could end the world.
Yeah, with the nuclear bomb.
That was the beginning of incredible hubris.
Yeah. Yes, and I think that is of course there's a whole lot of Neptunians who are thinking this to be awfully sad. I mean, the romantics on the planets are definitely suffering a little bit when they're seeing how incredibly quickly everything is moving. And I've been thinking a lot about that, being a little overwhelmed by all this internet and the constant communication of what's going on, and
you probably love it.
Well, I'm Aquarius, I can handle it, I think.
The Aquarius loves that, because that's what Aquarius is, the ability to solve impossible problems. That's what the sign is. But
and it's also very quick.
And you say the Neptunians are kind of having a problem with it, but that's probably true.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who has like a romantic soul that kind of like suffers for natures.
Anybody we know?
Most of the people.
I mean, I have that too.
Yeah.
Going back to yesteryear is not possible.
Yes.
But the idea of dehumanizing the world,
I agree.
Not attractive to me. It's not attractive to me.
No.
You can't get a human being on the telephone anymore. It's all done on AI.
Yeah. Well, most of the younger generations get freaked out if the telephone rings. It's like, oh no, people want to talk to me. Physically, I have to use my voice. Like I'm mostly on the texting and messaging and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't want to call anybody.
No.
Say, call so-and-so and ask them if they, no, I'll just text them.
Yeah. And people I mean, when I was a kid, people came up to my door and rang the bell and said, you want to come out to play? They don't do that anymore. There are no spontaneous visits.
Danger, and we're fed with so much idea of danger with crazy people that you don't want people to you don't want your kid to go outside. It's just a very different world and different life that we live in. We have to make adjustments to it, because there'll be some wonderful things that come out of this. But we are being tested now. We're being tested as we have never been tested before, to raise our consciousness. Because I believe there's a war between light and dark going on.
Oh, definitely.
I believe that's going on. Not that we have to eliminate dark, because it requires that there be a balance between the light and the dark. And so there is a fight going on right now between the two forces. And I think that people who do what we do are looking for not control over people, and darkness is seeking to control other people. So I think that there's a balance somewhere between the light and the dark, but it's a real war that's going on now. I think.
And what do you think about, because we're looking at, Pluto chewing its way through the last degrees. It's currently retrograde, going back to the 25th degree of Capricorn, and then moving forward again, starting to sniff out the last degrees of Capricorn. And then in 2023 and 2024, it will permanently establish itself in Aquarius, and it's going to stay there for a long time. What do you think about Pluto in Aquarius? Have you had any ideas or, visions about it?
But I think that it's going to be like everything else. When Pluto enters a sign, never on the highest vibration.
Never on its highest vibration.
Not when it enters a sign. When Pluto entered Scorpio, it wasn't at the highest vibration, because people have to have time to metabolize the meaning of it, and so it freaks everybody. An outer planet freaks everybody out. Pluto in Aquarius could be poison in the air.
It could be
poison in the air.
Poison in the air. Well, but the Pluto ingress into Capricorn was like day and night. The economical crisis, just boom, Pluto into Capricorn, the stock market, boom, just.
I have a friend who they were very rich, and all during Pluto and Sagittarius, they used to spend $5,000 a month on flowers for their dinner table.
Oh.
And when Pluto went into Capricorn, had to sell their house. They were living on a houseboat.
Really? Yeah. Well, there you go. A lot of people lost a lot in that transition.
And yet, a lot of people gained wisdom. A lot of people got rich on that. That's when a lot of billionaires were formed. And when Pluto was in Libra and Scorpio, it was the AIDS crisis. So there's always a mixture of dark and light. And Pluto coming into Aquarius is probably going to have fantastic things we can't even imagine. I've heard that they're going to be that cars are going to be elevated. They're going to be flying through the air. That they already have that. And the automatic car. I have a cousin who has one of those self-driving cars.
Oh, really?
That car drove him from Florida to New York while he read magazines.
Chilling, I'm just trying.
He's a Gemini, so he thought it was cool.
Yeah,
I'd never be able to do that. Because I'm too controlling in terms of being on the wheel. But Pluto in Aquarius is going to bring some fantastic things we didn't even imagine in terms of hybrids of people, and who the hell knows. But it's also going to bring a freak out on the dark side.
Yeah, and I've been thinking a lot about Pluto in Aquarius as being, robots taking more and more over manual labor, and it's already happening. Like there's right now there, people who had jobs that are no longer, it's no longer a job. Some robot took over it, and then we're going to have a lot of people actually going into unemployment. And I think that's part of, a difficult thing for humanity in the times to come, that a lot of people won't have employment. It won't be work. They will have to
Well,
reinvent themselves.
it's a very scary thought to me too, but maybe they'll be working for the robots.
I think what they will be, and I think what the opportunity will be, if you have if there could be some changes in the economical system as we see it today, people would have the opportunity to realize themselves, like finally get the time to see who they are. Because if you're busy all the time, you will never be able to examine the
I think
spirit.
in order to see who you really are, you can't wait for Pluto and Aquarius. I think what it is right now people are stuck at the last 3 degrees of Capricorn.
Mm,
And a lot of people are looking forward to, well, it'll be pretty soon. It's not soon. It's still a time we have to walk through these last 3 degrees.
mm,
And every time Pluto is in the last 3 degrees, it's the final kick of the donkey as you're walking behind the donkey. So the fact is that we have to get through this. We are now crossing a very dangerous bridge in
mm.
society.
Yeah, yeah.
It's one of those rickety bridges that you have to walk across, and you look down, and there's a lot of crocodiles and alligators in the water. We have a very dangerous road we have to travel now.
Mm,
It's being in the moment. It's not being in the future moment. For me,
mm.
I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do when Pluto's in Aquarius. I got to get through this.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's absolutely true.
That this
Absolutely.
creates so much anxiety right now. There's so much anxiety about how to cope with the changing world
Mm,
and how to be relevant. That's what people are really struggling to now with, their relevance. How can they serve humanity? How can they serve their life?
mm.
How can they be, why are they here? I think that anybody who survived 2020 has had, and with Chiron in the Aries, it has energized their belief or their interest in, why did I survive? What do I have? What have I got to contribute now?
Mm,
And I think that for me, that's what I'm interested in, is my own. What can I do for other people that I didn't do before? As an astrologer, what am I supposed to do with the chart? Because I'm not going to go back to saying, well, you have the moon in Sagittarius, that's lucky. I'm not doing that kind of reading anymore.
no.
I what I'm looking for is, what are the themes that this person needs to be relevant?
Mm,
What are the themes that will get this person across the great divide of going through from 27 Capricorn to the end? And because that's when solutions are found.
that's when delusions are found.
Solutions to problems are found in the last 3 degrees.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Well, I'm a little split because on one end, I really feel that it's a very educational time. I think I've learned a lot, not just about me, but about humanity in general. And at the other end, there's this kind of like worrisome mother energy in me that is, I have children, so I'm like, oh my goodness, wow, what kind of world are they going into? What kind of world what on
But
earth?
our parents said the same
I
thing.
know, I know they did. My mother said that as well. I grew up in the 70s and she was terrified of nuclear war and pollution. That was the fright of that time. And the fright of this time is different. But that was, I guess, like I sometimes have a tendency to think of the whole COVID as like almost like a World War III. Like
It
this.
is.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
It is.
I know you agree with me. I know. And, and in those kind of critical phases, I found some sort of comfort in thinking about my own grandmother. She gave birth to 2 children during the Second World War, and Norway was under occupation. And I tried to put myself into her experience.
Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally.
And I'm like,
When there's sorry.
yeah, she was.
When there's love,
Yeah.
it's stronger than anything.
Oh.
I met a young woman who was born January 10th, 1945 in Berlin.
Oh. Oh.
And so I thought, what kind of soul would incarnate when the world was ending? And it turned out that her mother was a young nurse, her father was a young soldier.
Mhm.
They met in a hospital, they fell in love, and they got married, and that's how it is. That it was a love story. It was a love story, so that there has to be a love story, don't you see?
Mm.
In every period, there has to be a love story that breaks the curse.
Exactly. And that's why I've been so fascinated with the myth of Shakti and Shiva, this Indian myth, because she went and she tossed herself into the fire and died. And, Shiva was completely heartbroken and went to sit on a mountain and just grieved. And the principle of love that they represented when they came together, this union of these two powers, these two extremely essential powers, when that power was disrupted, the demons started taking over the world.
That's why we must not get into fear now about the
Exactly.
future.
Yes. So
Right.
the other gods, they get terrified. They're like, we gotta reincarnate Shakti because the demons are taking over the world, and they do. And then the principle.
They're trying.
Yeah, well, I think they're trying to just keep people, like, they try to split us, like create a crevice between people, between races, between sexes, um, between everybody, like this separatism that keeps going on and on and on and on, and it's weakening us, because I think truly that we need each other and we need to work together in order to kind of like create this magnetic field of love. Because
that's why we should do this small little conference.
Yes, absolutely.
With Iranians and Chinese.
Yeah, for the people who are listening to this, we had a conversation before we started with this podcast that we would love to do something together online or in physical life. And I'm sure that, like, I agree. Let's do it. So definitely something that you guys can be looking forward to, because it's always a creative part.
But you're right. We have to find ways to be together and to minimize the differences, and even the differences between good and evil, because we can't polarize.
Exactly.
Somebody's bad, right? We can't polarize. We must unite as a species. And I think that one of the things that I tried to do during this whole thing was be careful health-wise, because I didn't want to get sick, but also not be interested in it. I wasn't interested in it in the sense that I was very careful.
Yeah.
But I wasn't I wasn't afraid of it.
Exactly. Exactly.
I wasn't scared of it. I figured if I get sick, I'll get well. I didn't think I was going to die, but I didn't go looking for it. But I also wasn't that interested in it. I never watched television during the entire time. I only did what I was doing to continue my work and to remain relevant to people, for people who were in a desperate state of confusion and fear. My job was to dispel their confusion and allay their fear, and also make them laugh once in a while. That's what I did. Well, that's my job.
Yeah, well, you have, like, I follow you with, I've always followed your work since the dawn of Facebook. You were always one of the people that I found to be extremely interesting, because the way you decipher the zeitgeist is just, sometimes it's completely incomprehensible to me. I'm like, what is he talking about there? And it makes me think.
Really?
Yeah, well, sometimes you make me think, like, why is it that you see it from that perspective? It's not that it's not relevant perspective, but I just want to get into your mind so that I can be as good as you, because I really appreciate it. And I'm like, I want to learn from this guy. And that was always the draw, into your work, because I found it to be so interesting. And I've always wanted to kind of like sit with you and get a, like some kind of like insight into how you read the dailies, for instance. Because
it's just that I see a movie.
You see a movie in your head, in a way.
I see the movie in my head.
Yeah.
Then I go online and I look for that movie.
Yeah, you look for, like, it could be a movie you've seen or a movie.
Oh no, not I've seen. Let's say there was one the other day that I saw. A crowd of people and a man is alone apart from the crowd, something like that.
Yeah.
And I see the picture appears.
Yeah.
then I just put it up on Facebook and I say, "This is you,"
Yeah.
or something like that. I mean, what I do is I don't even try to get the movie. I don't try to do it. If it either happens or it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But the movie that I see is what that means to me.
Mm. Yeah, but you're still very good with lunations and, just grasping the essence of things. And I find that to be extremely inspiring, like it shows that you have some real deep astrology, experience.
Thanks. A lot of that is planetary recurrence. That's my big secret.
Yeah, planetary recurrence. Yeah.
Planetary recurrence, because if a planet makes an aspect in a certain place, it carves a groove in that time-space area.
Exactly.
Every time any planet passes over that point, the memory is stirred.
Exactly.
So that's the whole secret of my work, is that I don't try to do it. I just say, oh my God, the last time Jupiter was here, I remember when I first went to work for Vanity Fair, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We had a brand new editor, and she was a young 30-year-old editor. And she didn't ask me to do a chart, and I would never do a chart. I knew she was a certain sign. And then I saw Jupiter was coming into that sign, which is the fifth house of that sign. So I said to my editor at the time, I said, "Oh, so-and-so's pregnant." I was kidding. Because Jupiter entered the fifth house from her sun sign. Now that's not everyone's not going to be pregnant.
No. Thankfully.
But it was in a fertile sign. It was in a wet sign.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Jupiter was coming into a wet, fertile sign. So I said, "I think so and so is pregnant." And so then he came back to me a week later. He said, "She told me she's going to have a baby. I didn't tell her what you said." I said, "Don't." Because she thought I was witchy anyway. Because people think it's witchy, but that was just thing. Jupiter in the fifth from a wet sign, that's pregnancy.
Yeah,
but it's not always. It's not always pregnancy. You got to be lucky to hit it.
Yeah, but you have an exceptional. You have an exceptional good intuition, wouldn't you say so? I mean, I feel like you're just channeling a lot of stuff.
You got to just be open to the movie.
Yeah.
And my personal therapy is about the unconscious responses to what's happening in the current. That's how my whole therapy was, and that's how my work is developed in communicative psychoanalytic psychotherapy. It's about being able to awaken what it really means.
Yeah.
Not just associating to it. In other words, if somebody says, I dreamed there was a fire in the street. And instead of saying, what does that mean to you? I'd say, what does it make you think of? Well, I don't know. What a fireman? Well, I don't know. But then they'll come up with something that has nothing to do with firemen, but it's the key, it's the secret thing.
Yeah.
So it's associations from the unconscious that makes you be able to make those connections. And that's been my training, and it's been with my person, how I got shrunk. And it's how I shrink people. So that
it's how you shrunk and get shrinking. All right.
that's how I got shrunk, and that's how I shrink people.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that, and thank you for saying that, because I know that and it's automatic. I can't even help it.
Yeah, well, I think I recognize a lot of myself in you in that sense, because I tend to have it's that artistic mind, like suddenly you just see something and it's just like, that's how I work. I'm very intuitive, very spontaneous.
That's how we got connected. That's how you and I got connected from that. We're both a little crazy.
Talk for yourself.
Or what has to for crazy.
Yeah,
you know what
I know. I choose to call it artistic. That's what I call it, because I really think it's the artistic mind. Like the intuitive, spontaneous, in the moment mind is very
spontaneous. That's the whole thing. That's the secret. Is don't look for it.
No, I rarely do. It could be anywhere and just associations. My father always told me, you are so quick with your associations. Your mind just go association. I have an association, or
That's
like a connection
that's the
to.
that's
Mm,
the way. That's the way.
mm.
But you have to have, as we both have, a foundation in astrology first.
Absolutely, and it's so that's my connection to. I mean, just it's my connection to some sort of historical. What to say? The histories that I learn through mythology, for instance, they have been
That's
so, you know.
yeah.
Uh,
That's what you're. That's the bedrock of everything you do. Is that you can pull
mm,
from here and there and there. You can pull from the mythology, because that story that you think of from mythology is the story.
it is the story, and it's so relevant still.
That's the relevant, but I wouldn't know that because I don't study them as much. But you're able to pull this story out from Egypt, and
Yeah.
that's what makes you so much super cultural, is that you have an eye into this history.
Well, you were the one who said if you could only, and we talked about that too. And like you said, if you only had 5 minutes and you could study one aspect of the chart, you would definitely include the nodal axis. And my south node is in Gemini, so like I love everything that comes from numerous cultures. Like if it's like I want to go shopping freely in many different worlds. I don't want to stick to just one. And I think that's an advantage sometimes, but of course it can get a little thinned out occasionally. But this quote you said about the nodal axis, I would love to hear you talk about the nodal axis a little bit more, because that's what we sort of wanted to talk a little bit about today.
Well, I will say this: I've changed my mind since I made that comment about if
Hmm.
I had only 5 minutes, I'd only read the notes. I've changed my mind because now I see that there are more vivid and cogent themes that would stay with a person forever. So I've learned since then that it's not just the nodal axis. However, the nodal axis is primary.
Hmm.
It's a thing that you are always doing in every relationship, whether it's business or personal.
Hmm.
You're always doing that. You're always doing the north node when you get older. But
Okay, yeah. Hmm.
because in order to do your north node, you have to overcome your death anxiety. Because in order to do your north node, you're recognizing you're not young anymore. And
Hmm.
in order to do your north node, you're doing the thing that's the right thing to do.
Hmm.
So you're
Ah.
actually so you're getting closer to your death, and you have to understand your death anxiety to be able to do the north. The south node, you remain infantile. You
Hmm.
remain you don't want to grow up. You're infantile because you're trying to get something that you didn't get when you were younger. The south node is
Hmm.
when it represents the thing that you're trying to get now, that you didn't get enough of, you were deprived of when you were younger. And now you want it. You want it now. But when you get older, when you get to a certain point, you recognize that that's not really what's fulfilling.
Hmm.
So the south node is gratification. The north node is fulfillment.
Hmm.
It's a kind of happiness. Stolen happiness you can't keep.
No, that's true. Yeah,
Earned happiness they can't take away.
exactly. Hmm. I love that, because when I heard that through your lecture, I don't know where it was, and my background is my training in astrology. My formal training is through EA, evolutionary astrology, and they're very good with the nodal axis, and they're
Sure.
yeah, and they're very good with the outer planets, and this really resonates with me. I want to, because that's where my interest lies a lot. Um, but when I heard you talk about the nodal axis, I was like, oh gosh, I got to ask him a little bit more, because I wanted to hear through your words how you describe the nodal axis. And you just gave me a very beautiful description there. That gave me a lot to think about. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And well, the south node,
Hmm.
in an evolutionary sense, represents what you were doing
Yeah.
but you wanted 5 minutes more of it when you left that incarnation. And you're still trying to get those 5 minutes in this.
Well, if you have planets on the South Node, they keep pulling you back into it. Like there's no.
It's hard to grow up.
Yeah, it's hard to grow up. I've noticed.
I know somebody who had the sun in the 4th house in the South Node.
Mm-hmm.
And she had 5 kids,
Mm.
2 husbands. She had a real life, but she was very narcissistic.
Yeah, the sun.
Because she didn't feel she had gotten enough nurture.
Oh.
Because the South Node is where we want a little more. That's why we become addicted to it. Because it tastes sweet.
Yeah, but it's not really gratifying, like it's like, no, it's not. It's not that kind of, this kind of dharma feeling you get when you reach the North Node. You get this joyful kind of satisfaction that is, as you said, you can't take it away from you. It's fulfillment, and you built it yourself.
You
earned it, yeah.
I always think the South Node is like a rat going down a channel.
Mm-hmm.
Cheese at the end of the channel.
Mm.
However, it's also electrified. So sometimes it gets the cheese, sometimes it gets the shock. And the South Node gets addicted to the shock.
Yeah.
The North Node, you want some cheese here? It's ready to take all you want. And because you have earned it, there's no charge around it.
Yeah. There's like this sense of liberation, like the free will is finally manifesting. I
also find the South Node is lurking in the background.
Like tempting, huh? Come on back, I'm pulling you in.
But that's one of the things, and you've conquered an addiction when the thing that was irresistible is disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. And I think, we live in a very addictive world, though. There's thousands of things to get addicted to: relationships, your iPad, tobacco. There's so many things. Sugar, very addictive.
Well, everybody came from a place. So everybody has a South Node because there are some things that you didn't finish in the last incarnation. The more that you can get away from that and be more North Node oriented, the more wise you are, the more fulfilled you are, the less crazy you are. But young people are supposed to be South Node. That's what it's for, to be childish.
So you think until the first Saturn return, you sort of finish up, because that's what I feel, you sort of finish up a little bit of those South Node themes.
Some people,
yeah. Hopefully, if you follow the schedule by your first Saturn return, you should be done by that. Okay. I know it's not that easy, but I remember at least my first nodal return. That was just, wow. I was 18, 19, and just magnificent things happened. That sort of spoke to me about my North Node, actually. Like I was given some sort of gift. It was simply out of this world. I remember one of the things was that I had some extreme spiritual encounters. Like I had some experiences that shifted my entire thought about what I thought I was going to do with my life. It shifted everything. So my second nodal return, I didn't feel that at all, in a way. That was like completely different. Like it wasn't that karmic in a way. It was just like, oh, there it is. Like I'm sure important things happened, but it was nothing like the first nodal return.
Really?
Mm.
Well, I guess being 30-something is not the same as being 19.
There is something very beautiful about being 19 because you go,
Oh,
oh yeah, you go into the world and you're like, tomorrow? What's tomorrow? Like, especially I was like that. I was like, I'm open to the adventure. I'm open to
oh,
every.
I couldn't wait to be 20. I didn't like the teen part of it.
Oh, really? Well, you just wanted to grow up really quickly and be
I
an
wanted,
adult.
yeah, but I grew up, but not the way I wanted to, because I was very South Node oriented for a long time.
Yeah, well, I think we all are. It's the thing I come back to all the time when I have to work on myself. It's like, oh, back to South Node.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah,
Here it is.
yeah, here it is.
It's waiting. It's waiting on the corner of the street with a hat up. Hi, where you been?
And we meet again. Oh, hello,
I
my
haven't
friend.
seen you in a long time. I've been waiting for you. Want to go for a ride?
Not really. The answer would be no, but very often the answer is sure. I'll go for a ride.
Of course.
Of
Of
course.
course.
I can do one more, you know. So, and lately, with these current nodal things going on, there's like, and we are now officially in eclipse season. So I thought, how do you see that?
Yeah, people. I kept saying Gemini, 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 and people were writing to me, but it's the eclipse is in Sagittarius. And
Yeah.
what I want the people to remember that if you, and that's why I said this for Geminis, if you can stay in yourself with the North Node in your sign, then all of the rejection that you feel from the South Node will not hurt you. That's why I kept saying to everybody, stick with Gemini right now. Stick with Gemini. Because that's, the Gemini is not going to pay any attention to the Sagittarius, because the Sagittarius is rejecting at this point.
Oh, really? It's rejecting. Rejecting what?
Your fantasies.
Ah. Yes.
It's like something you, because you're not feeling, if you're a Gemini, you're not feeling supported. Because the full moon was in the South Node. So you were looking for support in the wrong places.
Ah, yeah, like that. Okay. And it squares Jupiter in Pisces as well. So it's making, the planet of faith is not really helping, is it?
What really helps when you have the North Node in Gemini is actually what's in front of you.
Yeah. That's true. I found that. Yeah. I agree. That makes sense. It's my experience with this particular eclipse, though. Like just coming back to my work has been the blessing.
Yeah, and don't plan big things when the moon is eclipsed in Sagittarius. This node. Don't plan big things. If they come, they come. But stay what's close to you. Do the next thing. Do the next job.
The next job. Very good. And that's good advice. I mean, because we're going to have one more eclipse, but that's going to be a new moon and a solar eclipse. And it's also going to be in Gemini.
But I think that the nodes will be out by then. I'm not sure. I think they're going to be in Taurus Scorpio.
No, that will be the next new moon.
I didn't look at it carefully, but I thought the next one in December is going to be in Sagittarius.
That's true.
The node itself will be in Scorpio and Taurus.
That's true, but for this particular eclipse season now, these weeks.
That's right. Yeah. That's
right. Yeah,
right.
because it's entirely true. The nodes will go into Taurus and Scorpio. So yeah, another shift is waiting for us.
I know that, but from another point of view, it's all the same thing over and over and over. The nodes are here. Oh, the nodes are going to be in here. Oh, the nodes are going to be here. And we put such an interest in those things, and they come and they go.
And they come.
Our constancy is what we're taking suffering and taking suffering away from the people who are suffering.
Yeah.
That's doing. We're using astrology to do it. That's what we're doing. We're helping people enjoy their life more and not to make a big deal out of everything.
Yeah, true. And I agree. There was it's one of the things that I follow. When I had my first nodal return, I was exposed to a little bit of philosophies from across the seas. In particular the Indian philosophy, and it was it it made sense. And one of the things that I read in one of the books, it was that, at one certain point, you're beyond the movement of the planets. Like there's this still point in everything. And it sort of stayed with me for a long time. And especially because, as astrologers, we meet a lot of, we get some feedback sometimes from clients or whoever, people who read our material. And it's like, it's this drama thing. It's like, what's going to happen when that happens? And I'm like,
exactly. And yet now I don't, when I read charts for people now, I don't read the chart like you have Venus here. I don't do that anymore. I do all that outside the session. And when I talk to people, I talk about their life.
Yes, exactly.
But one woman said to me years ago, "Did you ever do my chart at all?" She thought I was psychic. The thing is that what we're supposed to be doing, I think, is interpreting it for the people, but making their life relevant to their life. And astrology relevant to their life.
What's the point if not?
Right. But people are desperate. They want to hear, what does it mean when the moon is in Leo? Well, that's a good sign because it's warm. What else? It's love. It's about love. Well, what else? No, that's it. It's about love. It's about warmth. It's a warm side of you. So my job, I find, is to try to translate it in a way that doesn't minimize it for people, but doesn't maximize the transit. The transit. I say that about Pluto. I've said it from the very beginning. It's about devastation. Don't think you're not going to be devastated. It's going to devastate you. But it also brings fertility.
New life.
You know of Circe, right?
Of?
Circe?
Circe.
The island the island off up in the North Sea where you are.
Yeah, what was the name again?
Surtsey. It was a volcano that came out of the water.
Oh.
I think in the 60s. And it was horrendous when it came out. It was a plutonium thing that came up from the depths.
Yeah.
It was scary and the clouds were scary. And it left nothing but black, charred lava. That's what Pluto does. It comes up from the bottom, it devastates, and it leaves nothing but emptiness. Do you know what happened on Circe?
No.
All of a sudden, after it cooled, wild birds came and made their nests on it, and now it's a sanctuary for birds and wildlife and flowers. You can look up Circe.
I will do that.
That's the perfect thing. That's what your life does. That's what Pluto does to your life. It creates a horrendous explosion, and it followed by emptiness. And from that comes more fertility. And that's for every single person who's ever had a Pluto aspect. And we're in the scariest moment of this Pluto trip now.
Buckle up. Buckle up.
No, we've seen a lot of devastation.
Yeah, we've done. Yeah, with the Saturn.
Out of that has got to come the fertility and the health and the beauty of nature. That's what has to. That's why I think we have to have for solutions.
Yeah, well, I think, my father, he's like, I'm quite happy that the planes stopped flying, because nature can finally get a break now from tourism and from everything that's abusive.
It was nice.
I think it's beautiful, there is something very appealing to me with a life that is moving a little slower. I don't want to run through life. I want to sit here and actually be able to have time to actually digest and absorb it. And God forbid, maybe be a little bored occasionally.
There's a church across from my office,
Mm-hmm.
and in front of the church is two magnolia trees. And every year that I've been in that office, which is 20 years, every year the magnolias bloom and blossom for 2 days, and they fall off there after 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, during 2020, the blossom lasted 5 weeks.
Oh my goodness! Wow, are you real?
I'm telling you, I couldn't. I called my old assistant. I said, "Come over and look at this thing." So I've got pictures of it.
Oh really? Wow.
They never get, the blossoms didn't die.
Mm.
They stayed on the tree for several weeks.
You know, the way that things are right now, it's spring going on in Bergen where I live. This is just the most incredible place to experience spring because we have this huge, rich mountains surrounding the city, and every May they just go boom into green. It's like this explosion of green that just happens, and that's how it feels to me. And I just want to savor the moment. Like it's been so many good moments that I just want to hold on to them and just keep them for as long as I can, because
I felt that way. I felt that something was coming across the land.
Yeah.
And stopping everything. It wasn't just bad people.
No. It
wasn't.
No.
There was something I thought was magical.
Yeah. I think just quieting down everything, it sort of, for me, it worked. But, I also know the incredible existential pressure that it put on a lot of people. So it's about counting your blessings and being well aware of the privileges that you have going on in your own life. And it's sort of, it humbles me in a way to think of, the privilege it is to be able to kind of get your mind up above, all the existential basic needs, and just have a little time to just get a breather and to see, oh, there's a blue sky here, and look at that sunset. That's a kind of like an abundant state to be able to do that. And my yoga teacher, she said it so nicely the other day. She said, it actually takes 10 breaths, like 10 deep, good breaths, to be able to sit and absorb something instead of just rushing by it, like, oh, there's a beautiful sunset, and you just rush, like you saw the sunset, but you didn't absorb it. You didn't have the time and the abundance to be able to sit with it. And that's how I feel these days, like this peaceful moment. It just gave me time to sit with things that I normally didn't take time to sit with. And for me, it's yeah, I guess that's my ability to take out the good of every experience, and I hope that a lot of people share that, have that opportunity as well. As you said, with New York, you still do the same thing. You support the local businesses, and you do what's giving you joy back, in a way, doing the right thing.
I try.
Well, I think that's a good, healthy way to kind of face this time. Like it's bringing back the love for these little moments, just like this, coming online, having a chat with you. It's really something that I've been looking forward to, and creating those spaces, almost like an oasis for people to enter into and have
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, oasis.
This has been a little oasis for me too, because I'm very. I had to help someone die this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was a very intense experience. It was a great responsibility and a great privilege to do it.
Absolutely.
But it was very draining, and now I have a lot. I have a lot of clients that I have to see. I have a busy life ahead of me. So this has been a really great moment to connect with you, make some plans for the future, and we'll talk again about all these things.
Yes, we will. So I'm happy to hear that you found some of this. It's probably me just tuning in on the luscious trees of this city. It's just so moist and rich with life, and I'm just bringing it straight to you, New York, so that you can enjoy that via me. I will take a picture and give it to you.
When you said that, I thought I'd like to be in spring in Berlin too.
So beautiful here. I'm like, please, can just somebody just stop time and let it be May forever, because I love May.
My first trip there was September. It was beautiful.
Well, it is. It's beautiful. That particular from, I would say, from May until late October, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then winter is hard, and then we get our little reward when we finally get out of it. So, all right, Michael, thank you very much for popping by. I'm sure you have plenty of work to do, and I will make sure that people can find your work. I will give them the appropriate links and everything underneath this podcast. So then,
thank you very much, and I hope we can do this again soon.
Oh yeah, definitely. I am ready.
Me too. So what do we do now?
We say goodbye to everybody. Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you very much. It was really great. And oh, yeah. Okay, I see. So it was wonderful. It's always great to be with you. And we're going to plan that other event so we can do, because you're the perfect host to it. You're the perfect host to it.
Good. I love
Norway. Norway is the perfect spot. And even if we do it online, it'll still be centered in Norway. And you're the perfect person for it.
Oh, thank you, Michael. That's so nice. I'm looking forward to that.
Talk to you soon.
Sure.